focus. Ideate, innovate, enable.
That was quick.
Yeah, Mark, don't worry. I'm driving on the new expressway and it's absolutely safe.
Welcome to the second edition of PwC Presents The Winning Leap in association with CNBC TV 18. This is a show where we take a look at how businesses create value, discuss the strategies and opportunities that are vital for their growth, and the various challenges they face in India's economic environment. This week, we discuss the deal scenario in the country and what has made India an attractive destination for M&A activities. Taking the discussion further, I have with me Pramod Menon, Finance Director at JSW Energy, and Mr. N. Sivakumar, Leader, Deals, PwC India. Gentlemen, thank you both very much for joining in. Shiv, if I can begin with you, the first half of this year has already seen deals worth about $30 billion, M&A deals worth $30 billion being done. What is driving this?
So if you really look at the landscape, Prashant, you see largely this $30 billion is coming out of large ticket consolidation happening in the financial service sector and in the telecom space. And it's happening for two reasons. One is for getting a better consolidation play. The second one is to achieve dominance in the space you are in. We are seeing players coming together to achieve scale and be relevant in that space.
Mr. Menon, in your sector, where there is a lot of activity happening, I mean the infrastructure space in general, what is driving this?
I think currently the infrastructure space has to go through a consolidation phase. And this current, I would say the consolidation is coming through primarily on account of deleveraging and certain amount of stress. The sector is, I would say, ripe for consolidation, and what we are seeing is partly driven by, again, in terms of scale and efficiency, companies trying to consolidate their positions. And lots of them, as I mentioned today, is a stress-induced or deleveraging-induced M&A activity which is more prominent.
Do you see what's happening in the infrastructure space spreading to other sectors as well? And what will, which sectors do you see this kind of spreading to in a big way?
So from a deleveraging point of view, I mean, infrastructure is a big one, which is actually you're seeing a lot of consolidation happening to de-stress the situation. But other sectors, even in something like textiles, also we are seeing, where and power sector, where you see a lot of debts accumulated, and the same theme is following, where people want to restructure to deleverage.
Let us say it will be deleverage slowly going in for a more conventional kind of an M&A deals which is going to happen as far as this
need-based expansion, etc.
That kind of thing. Anyway, there will be a conscious need to consolidate as well.
So the so-called chronically stressed sectors, I mean the consolidation and the M&A in that space, you think that is mostly the peak is behind, or?
What we are seeing is a lot of more propensity in terms of, let us say, on one side we are seeing RBI facilitating a lot of policy-related changes to induce and to facilitate there could be a meaningful transaction which can come through. On the other side, we are seeing that the companies that themselves which are not able to operate are slowly getting into an operation kind of phase. So let's say once you are able to showcase to an investor that yes, a lot of these issues have got settled, then there will be a fair value which can come through as far as the deals are concerned.
I mean, what percentage of the M&A activity that we are seeing right now is stress related? And how much is conventional in your assessment?
From a sector point of view, I think 50% of the deals are actually happening in the technology side.
Right.
Okay. And followed by financial services, which is about 13%.
What about deals happening via capital coming from outside the country? That has also kind of picked up quite a bit, right?
So yeah, that much is very sure, Prashant. We see the inbound activity has really, there's been an uptick on that. And largely because companies are far more having a positive outlook on India. The favorable regulatory changes, the forward-looking government policies, sort of a relaxation on FDI norms in sectors like aviation and multi-brand retail, and the GST coming in, all have actually sent a positive signal, and the outlook has been positive. We see a lot of inbound activity happening, at least in the last 6 months, and that's a good thing to happen, you know. And we see that in pharmaceuticals, we see that in consumer discretionary space, as well as technology.
In your sector as well, I mean, I think there are structures now being created which allow for that kind of thing, right? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I think there is what we have seen over the last couple of years is that there has been interest in terms of foreign investors coming in and either partnering with some local existing developer, and then so we have seen a couple of those transactions happening. And I think the kind of opportunity which is there in this particular sector is pretty humongous. But at the same time, the issue with the infrastructure sector is that it's highly capital intensive. And being a capital scarce as far as availability is concerned, so what we are seeing is a lot of pension funds and other long-term capital providers are ready to partner with either an Indian developer or, let us say, an Indian stakeholder who can then take up. So those kind of partnerships, so we are seeing the funds coming in through various means, either directly from an existing developer who are ready to take the bets, or through a financial investor who is ready to back an Indian promoter or Indian group in terms of partner as far as this consolidation is concerned. So I would say that over the next few years you are going to see a significant activity, especially in this particular space.
And just to add to what Pramod is saying, the GST being a very transformative legislation, we expect to see a lot of traction in the logistics space, because with supply chain networks had to be reconfigured. So logistics is one area where we can see a lot of deal activity going forward.
Okay. If I can ask you a simple basic question, what are the tenets that actually make a deal work?
People are looking at both profitability as well as the scalability. So these two things are very central for from a workability of a deal point of view.
Would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, I think there are two parts. Anybody looking at an M&A will definitely look at scale or diversification or integration. But to actually get a deal work, I think first there has to be willingness of the parties. Second, I would say a critical factor is the trust factor, because that we have seen a lot of deals either getting not done or not done primarily because of the value systems involved or transparency during the entire process which comes through. And the third would, of course, I would say is the quality of the team that you put together and the kind of diligence that you get together and how you analyze the data also has a lot of say in terms of how you go ahead and consummate that.
Sure. I mean, so once the deal is done, merger for example, post-merger activities, you think enough attention is paid there? What advice would you have?
60 to 65% of the deals do not realize the intended synergies. And there are many reasons, and I think primarily it is on account of diffused people and technology related integration. So I suppose these are the two things, you know, where when you get into the deal, the post deal, how effective are you in sort of realigning the people side as well as on the technology platform. So these two things are very vital, and companies now actually are looking at post-deal integration play as part of their deal investment. So clients are saying that, look here, we need to know what exactly, how we're going to understand, how we're going to exactly do the post-integration. And that gets built in. And companies who do that well are more successful.
They're able to actually realize whatever they thought out in the first place. Mr. Menon Shiv, thank you very much, both of you, for joining in. Thanks very much for watching. On the other side of this break, we have another very interesting discussion coming right up.